How you guys doing today? So my today's video is going to be about some more 3v3 stuff. The main focus of this is just kind of surprisingly really good teams for 3v3s. So yeah, I mean we can go into it. Just show you some of mine. This is like my today's defenses. I'm kind of using some of the ones I used previously in my old video, which was not too long ago. So you have a lot of these different variations of teams. One of which is this old Ben team, which is a great. In every single one of these teams, there's always some synergy in how they function. They're not just a bunch of random teams. So we're going to start us off with this first one. This old Ben one, I've talked about it before. I'll talk about it again. This is one of the best 3v3 teams in this entire game. I have to say that because of the evasion. Evasion, I think, might be making a comeback just only in 3v3s, probably not in 5v5s, but 3v3s especially because there's only 3 people, and makes it a lot harder to handle them, to deal with them, and if you don't use something somewhat decent versus this, you might be stuck in kind of like a little bit of a loop almost. But the reason why this works so well is because of old Ben's leadership with the 15% evasion, but most importantly, when you do evade, you get 30% turn meter, which is not limited to anybody. It's for everybody, actually, which is awesome. On top of that, he has a taunt. He has some mind tricks, which can TMR people, remove their turn meter, inflict ability block, and even offense down. And then you have this nice Surge of Spirit here, which gets a lot of extra foresight, which also means that if somebody does attack her, well, she gets even more turn meter. On top of that, she can stun somebody, dispel, and also she can do some more TMR and give out some speed down, which is pretty huge. And then we, of course, have Watt here. So I know people probably don't want to use Watt on defense. Maybe they want to use it for offense. I can understand that, and I think that might be okay for like how you would want to play some of your offenses out. But for the most part, I do think that, especially in 3v3s, Watt Tambor is probably one of the MVPs because of how he can distribute his techs among his allies, especially in 3v3s, because if you have a tank there, he's going to give that tank tech out first and foremost, makes you have like a pre-ton almost, and then the second one's a bit more iffy. I've had kind of an inconsistency with what it gives it, or who the tech is given and which one it is to the ally, which would be the weapon mod or the Chewy Wob here. Hopefully I said that one right. It's kind of inconsistent for the most part, but Watt Tambor is really great here for this team, and it doesn't have to be in this team. You can actually, if you wanted to, you can swap out Watt Tambor here, and you could use Droideka. And Droideka is another great one because of the extra evasion you get with his unique, and even more turn meter because of how old Ben works. And on top of that, he has damage immunity. So those are some really great ones there. But Watt Tambor is really great wherever you want to use him. Ideally, I think he's way better used on defense because he's going to be a lot more annoying to handle for the most part. So these are some other ones. I'm not gonna excuse me, I'm not going to get into all of these just yet because they're kind of lame ones. So we're going to go show you some other ones, some of the more surprisingly really good teams for both offense and defense. So we're going to scroll all the way down here. Yeah, I know. But let's take a little break here. If you guys have any other 3v3 video ideas, or heck, just any videos in general, while we're in this 3v3 GAC, if you guys want me to cover anything, perhaps how to handle the Rays best, we could definitely show that off in a future video. Just any things you guys have in mind, any at all, just let me know down below in the comments. But here we go. So we start this off with old Ben. I think this is one of the best, and that's why it's on my first on this list. But we're gonna come down here a little bit further down the road. So we're going to start this off with this Thrawn one. So I don't have too many here. I'm going to keep this kind of short and brief for you guys who are watching this. You don't want to spend too much time skipping around. So this is it. Thrawn, Nihilus, and Sith Trooper. It does not need to be Sith Trooper here. It could actually be Shore Trooper if you wanted to. And honestly, it might be better with Shore Trooper because Shore Trooper is also Empire. And what that means is that he's going to have even more of these bonuses with the Thrawn lead. So heck, we'll toss in Shore Trooper. Why not? There he is. He's not too good for my account, but yeah, he'll do the job here. So mainly what this means and what this team offers for you is it's an offensive team first and foremost. You're going to have Thrawn here in the leadership, which can, kind of give out, what is this called, this buff. You get a new buff here. It's called, what is it called? I'm forgetting what it's called. The maneuver, that's what it's called. So all the Empire allies have this, but in this one, it's going to not give it to Nihilus because he's not an Empire, right? But the maneuver gives you 50% turn meter and dispels a debuff, or dispels all debuffs on that person when you use it. So you're going to get a lot of extra turn meter gain here, a lot more availability on your fracture to use on somebody, and you have Nihilus here who can increase cooldowns, dispel buffs. It's going to be great, and Annihilate as well. So this team in particular I've seen, and I've actually used myself to kill some Padmes in 3v3. You might not believe it, but yeah, you can. You can actually beat some Padmes. So yeah, like this one right here. Padme, JKA, and GK. How would you go about this? Well, you would want to fracture Anakin first. He's going to be doing a lot of DPS here to your team, and then you want to kind of mitigate some of the damage from the other guys. You're going to have a short trooper there to eat up a kick potentially if it does get to that, and then GK doesn't do too much damage here, and you can just dispel the protection up with Nihilus if you need to, and TM swap back and forth with Nihilus and Thrawn, and you get really good annihilate off on Anakin early on, and you're good to go. And it's a great team for offense, and it can give you really good banners. And if anything goes wrong there, you're probably going to lose your tank, the pre-taunt, so in this case, Short Trooper. But if you have him a little bit higher gear than I do, you're going to be totally fine. He's probably not going to die at all, but in my case, he probably will die. And it doesn't have to be Short Trooper. It can be pretty much anybody you want him to be here. I just kind of like Short Trooper because he can stop some of the crits. And he can have he actually gets his taunt back as well. It's nice to get. So that's the first one, or the second one, I guess. We already went over Old Ben. So the third one here is more of a defensive team. So you can see here, these are a lot of different teams, a lot of different levels of play here. Your roster and your GP right. So this one might be a little bit more on the middle to high tier of your GP and what you have in the game, because these are some harder farms to get. Like the Talzin's kind of hard to get for these newer players. Same with Jango Fett. So you're going to have this team here. It's going to be a little bit more advanced, I guess you could say, but the idea behind this is all about Dooku's leadership, and with him giving out a lot of these nice and juicy buffs. So you're going to have, first and foremost, some more counter chance and some more tenacity. So that's pretty huge. That's ideally really huge, especially with Jango Fett, because on top of having that extra counter chance, well, Jango Fett gets damage immunity for I think 2 turns if the allied leadership is a separatist, so that's great. But the most important thing here is this other part to his leadership is whenever somebody falls below 100% health, they inflict on themselves tenacity down and healing immunity for 2 turns, can't be resisted or evaded, and also Separatist allies gain more offense for 10%, stacking up to 50%, which is pretty huge. Jango Fett, if you guys did not know this, is one of the biggest hitting attackers in the game, I would say, because he can double tap on 2 of his specials, and he has a burning and AoE burning, which is pretty huge. So, like I'm just saying here, with his payout, you do get the Separatist, or with Separatist ally being leadership, you get the damage immunity right off the bat. Excuse me. So it's great. On top of that, you already get more offense right off the bat as well. So if you wanted to, you could just mod him kind of like this. A lot more offense, a couple more crit chance mods here and there. It'll be really good, actually. So that's pretty huge. But also, probably the thing that ties all together here is Mother Talzin. So Mother Talzin here gives out Plague. And if you guys know what Plague does, well, you kind of lock in their buffs, or their debuffs, rather, if they have any. And also, they kind of take some damage over time if it's their turn, and this can stack with her being in the unique, or with her being there. Her unique will have this Plague Bearer, which pretty much means at the start of each enemy turn, if they have Plague and Talzin's active, they inflict Plague on a random enemy. So you're going to get a lot of extra plagues there, tenacity downs. Jango Fett can do burning, staggers, healing immunities, and Dooku can stun and shock people. It's going to be a really scary team, I think, and it's going to be a great one to spread out your Separatists and even your Bounty Hunters as well, and Night Sisters. So it's a great one there. So that's another one here on the list. And then we got, next up on the docket is this one. So here's one that's not for, these top end. It's not for, it's for everybody. This one's for everybody, I would say, especially for those people out there who are a little bit early game, maybe even mid game, probably just unlocking 3PO. He does not need to be, gear 12, 7-star here. He can be just fine, whatever it may be, 5-star, gear 11, gear whatever, gear 10. But you're going to have Wedge and Biggs here, and their synergies is very, very good together, because you're going to give out even more speed from, no, it's on Wedge's unique, I forget. Wedge's unique, you give even more speed and offense to him and Biggs, which is nice. And the leadership gives out even more offense and extra heals on crits, which is really nice. But the thing that ties all together here is 3PO. 3PO with his, what's it called? It is unique here. Is it Cyborg Relations? It is Cyborg Relations. You inflict exposes on basics for rebels. And, you're going to have a lot of basics here to give out, because he can have an assist with Biggs. Biggs will call in either Wedge or 3PO. They're going to do another expose. And then you have a big AoE coming in with Wedge. It's going to be pretty good. Like I said, this is more for early or mid-game players. Probably taking out some of those, actually probably decent teams. They're not going to take out some weak teams. They're going to take out some strong teams, I would say. You got to watch out for this one, though, for some tenacity up people like the Rex, people who can cleanse a lot. You want to make sure and you maintain those exposes, and you can burst down people and kill them before they can do much of anything to you. So that's a nice one. I like this team a little bit. I remember using this way back in the day when 3v3 was first out. It got me a lot of easy wins. So it's one I would like to share with you. So another one here is an Akbar team with Leia and Hermit Yoda. So another one here is a little bit early game, kind of like this Wedge, Biggs, and 3PO one. So this one is kind of like the same idea for the most part. And honestly, if you didn't want to use Hermit Yoda here, you can just toss in 3PO. It's going to be really good as well. Pretty much the Akbar leadership here, if it's an old one, it pretty much means whenever an ally uses an ability that isn't an attack, they call a rebel ally to assist. Which is really good because you're going to have now, everybody here actually can do that. They have a non-attack, so Hermit Yoda has everything here that is non-attack. He doesn't do any damage to anybody. Akbar is also one, he has 2 specials who do no attacks, so he's got the cleanse and the ability, the outmaneuver, whatever that one's called, I forget what it's called again. Tactical Genius. So he's got that, he's got 2 of them. And then you have Princess Leia here who has one on her Rebel Tactics. But you're going to have this nice one here, which stealths up Leia, and just kind of feeding her a lot of extra turns here and even melting the enemies down. This can work pretty well with the 3PO, like I said earlier, but if you want to use 3PO in another team, well, you can use this one as well with Hermit Yoda. I think this will do pretty good as well for most people out there. Again, it's more for those earlier to mid-game players for the most part. So that's a really great team. I think a lot of people would enjoy that one. So that's a couple of them. And then, you know what, I'm going to talk about some of the last ones here. This is a great one, I think. Newt B1 in GBA. So this is, I would say, probably more for a defensive team. Newt, I think, should always be on the defensive for the most part. I don't see how he shouldn't be for the defense with some of these teams out there nowadays, especially 3v3. 3v3 is really kind of hard to maintain the best defenses, and what I'm trying to do here is trying to share with you guys some of the best. Again, I said earlier, if you guys have any other ideas, maybe I can just do a whole video about the best defenses. There's not too many best defenses out there because in 3v3 you're really limited to that because you're losing 2 people because it's 3v3. So you're going to kind of be stuck with like the best ones, like the legendaries, the Galactic Legends, stuff like that. They're going to be probably the best. But you're going to have some of these guys who can throw a really big wrench into the whole plan of your attacks and your offensive battles. So this is one of them. Newt Gunray, of course, was leadership. A lot of extortion. We've gone over this in my previous video. Extortion's a huge one. But if anything does go wrong and like perhaps somebody gets low, well, guess what? You're going to have B1 here who can heal them back up with his blasting ability. It heals up target separatist allies. So it's for the droid separatists, it's for just separatists in general. Everything for separatists is going to heal them back up, which is really good. On top of that, his droid battalion, if you guys kind of forget what this means, is that he gets more stacking offense, but also he gives out for the separatist allies more tenacity and critical avoidance, which is very, very good, especially when you have a Geonosian Brute Alpha here who has his Geonosian Brute. The pre-taunter makes him very, very hard to kill with all that extra critical avoidance, and I can see this timing out people or killing them because Newt has his extortion kind of just whittling them down one by one. And you're going to be stuck, like I said, behind this taunter with all that critical avoidance. It's going to be really hard to kill. And if I were to place this on defense in the future, I probably would want to go for a critical avoidance arrow to stack up that critical avoidance. He doesn't have any critical avoidance built in with his mastery, but you can get up 35%, I think, with a critical avoidance arrow, plus whatever that may be. I think that might be close to 50%, I think, with Droid Battalion. Yeah, I think it's that times 100. I'm so bad at math. I think it's around 50%. So you're gonna be around 85. You're not gonna get crit at all. You're gonna be maintaining that high damage with, of course, the extortions and even his specials and his call to assist, and of course the healing. And you're gonna be stuck behind that brute taunt, which is gonna be really, really great. So you know what? I didn't go over a whole lot here, but I think these are some really good ones to mention for some of you guys who usually just stick to the plan, the usual plan for your setting of defense and offenses. This one, I mean, I think these are some really, really creative ones and ones that are proven to do really, really well. So I mean, yeah, we could have chatted about Trey Sion, Padme, JK. I mean, these are not bad teams. These are really great teams for offense and getting some high banners. Usually for offense, you want to maintain these these same similar teams that you've already been using over and over again in your other GACs in 5v5. But for defenses, for the most part, we're going to toss in some more different variations of teams here. Kind of go off the path of what is normal, and we're going to soften it up, have some fun, and along the ways we're going to throw in some wrenches for the enemies and who you play your opponents, kind of make it a little bit harder to clear your board or lose some banners. That's all the name of the game. GAC is not about getting holds, it's about losing them banners or making them use something very, very important in their attack. So guys, that's going to do it for me today. If you guys enjoyed this video, guys, give it a like, share it around, and sub to the channel if you guys are new here. Like I said earlier in the video, if you have any other ideas for a 3v3 series, you just let me know down below in the comments. And yeah, I think that's about it for today. Thank you for watching. Until next time, I'll see you guys all later. Peace out.